The cabin was quiet except for the low hum of the engines when the flight attendant stopped beside row 3, looked down at the little black girl by the window, and without a word tilted a small paper packet, letting fine white powder spill across the child's lap, her dress, and the armrest. For half a second, no one understood what they were seeing. Then the girl froze, eyes wide, her hands trembling as the powder settled like snow. A few passengers gasped. Someone whispered, "Did that just happen?" The attendant straightened up, her face stiff, and said flatly, "Clean yourself up," before turning to walk away. The girl's name was Amara. She was 8 years old, flying business class for the first time in her life, clutching a stuffed rabbit and trying to be brave. The powder wasn't sugar. It wasn't creamer. It was cleaning powder from the service cart, meant for wiping trays, not people. Amara didn't cry at first. She just looked down at her dress, then up at the aisle, searching for her mother. Her mother, Naomi Carter, had been asleep in the seat across the aisle, headphones on, reviewing a financial report on her tablet before dozing off. Naomi was used to pressure, to hostile boardrooms, to billion-dollar negotiations where one wrong word could cost everything. What she was not used to was waking up to the sound of her daughter whispering, "Mom." Naomi opened her eyes and saw white powder on her child's dark skin and blue dress. For a moment, her brain refused to process it. Then she stood up. "What happened?" Naomi asked calmly, but there was a steel edge in her voice that made the man in the seat behind her sit up straight. Amara swallowed. "The lady poured it on me." Naomi looked down the aisle and saw the flight attendant already halfway to the galley. Naomi pressed the call button once. No response. She pressed it again. Still nothing. "Stay right here," Naomi said to Amara, gently brushing some powder off her daughter's shoulder. "Don't move." Naomi stepped into the aisle and spoke loudly enough for half the cabin to hear. "Excuse me. You just poured something on my child. Come back here." The attendant turned slowly, irritation flashing across her face. "Ma'am, please return to your seat." "No," Naomi replied. "You will explain why you poured a chemical powder on my 8-year-old daughter." A hush fell over the cabin. Phones came out. Someone in first class leaned forward to listen. The attendant's jaw tightened. "She spilled something earlier. I was cleaning." "That's a lie," said the man in row 4. "I was watching. The kid didn't spill anything." Another passenger added, "She didn't even ask first." The attendant's face flushed. "This is not your business." "It became everyone's business the moment you did that," Naomi said. The attendant crossed her arms. "I followed procedure." Naomi laughed once, short and sharp. "Procedure for humiliating black children." That word, black, hung in the air like smoke. The attendant snapped, "You're causing a disturbance." Naomi leaned closer, her voice low but deadly calm. "You caused it. Now you're going to call the captain." "I don't have to." Naomi pulled out her phone. "Then I will." She didn't dial customer service. She didn't post online. She dialed a private number saved under one word, aviation. Within seconds, the phone connected. "Naomi Carter," a voice said immediately. "Is everything okay?" Naomi didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "No. One of your partner airlines' flight attendants just poured cleaning powder on my child mid-flight." There was a pause. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. Flight 782, seat 3A." The attendant's eyes widened slightly as she heard Naomi speak. Passengers leaned in. "Please stay on the line," the voice said, suddenly urgent. Naomi hung up, turned to the attendant and smiled without warmth. "The captain will be here shortly." 10 minutes later, the captain stepped out of the cockpit, followed by the lead purser. The sight of a captain leaving the cockpit mid-flight sent a ripple of anxiety through the cabin. "What seems to be the issue?" the captain asked. Naomi gestured to her daughter. "That crew member poured cleaning powder on my child. No warning, no reason." The captain looked at the powder still visible on Amara's seat and dress. He turned to the attendant. "Is that true?" The attendant hesitated. She was being messy. She was sitting quietly, another passenger said. We all saw it. A woman across the aisle added, it was cruel. The captain's face hardened. Step aside. The attendant's voice rose. They're exaggerating. Naomi spoke again, calm, precise. Captain, before you decide how to handle this, you should know who I am. The captain glanced at her, confused. Ma'am, with respect. I'm Naomi Carter, Carter Holdings. The captain blinked. The purser's eyes widened. Your airline leases 12 aircraft from my company, Naomi continued. Your fuel hedge is underwritten by my firm, and your CEO calls me every December to thank me for keeping your stock stable. The cabin went silent. The captain swallowed. I understand. Good, Naomi said. Then you understand why this flight will not continue until my child is treated with dignity. The captain nodded slowly. I need to make a call. He stepped back into the cockpit. The attendant's face had gone pale. You didn't have to do this, she muttered. Naomi turned to her. You didn't have to do that to my child. 5 minutes later, the captain returned. This flight is being temporarily grounded, he announced. We will not resume until this situation is resolved. A murmur swept through the cabin, shock, excitement, disbelief. The attendant stared. You can't ground a flight for this. The captain looked at her. You are relieved of duty effective immediately. What? She snapped. Return to the jump seat. Security will meet us upon landing. The attendant's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she looked afraid. Naomi knelt beside Amara. Baby, are you okay? Amara nodded slowly. Am I in trouble? Naomi hugged her tightly. Never, you did nothing wrong. The plane sat on the runway longer than anyone expected. Maintenance came aboard, not for the plane but as an excuse. Airport supervisors arrived. Quiet conversations happened near the cockpit. Passengers began posting online. Videos of the powder, the confrontation, the captain standing in the aisle. The story spread before the wheels even touched the ground again. When the plane finally landed, security boarded. The attendant was escorted off without a word. She didn't look back. At the gate, airline executives were waiting. Not managers, executives. Naomi stepped off holding Amara's hand. Cameras flashed. A man in a tailored suit approached Naomi, sweating. Ms. Carter, he said, we are deeply sorry. Naomi didn't stop walking. You will be. By morning, the video was everywhere. By afternoon, the airline stock was down 6%. By evening, the attendant had been terminated, the captain had released a statement, and the airline issued a public apology that named racism directly. But Naomi wasn't finished. She funded mandatory bias training across the airline, paid for by the airline, designed by experts she trusted. She set up a scholarship fund in Amara's name for children affected by discrimination in travel. She pulled one aircraft lease for review, just long enough to make the board panic. And every interview Naomi gave, she said the same thing. This wasn't about money. This was about a child being humiliated because of her skin. Amara went back to school a week later. Her classmates asked questions. She told them, my mom stopped a plane. Naomi corrected her gently. No, baby, you stood still and told the truth. I just listened. The airline never forgot that flight. Neither did anyone who was on it, because they all learned the same lesson at 35,000 feet. Sometimes the most expensive mistake isn't financial. It's showing your prejudice to the wrong mother.